Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll let people join us as they continue kind of popping in here. So my name is Monroe McKay. I'm the Director of Business Development here at JobNimbus. Super excited today to have Randy Brothers on the call. Randy, good to see you again, man.
What's up, man?
So we love working with Randy because Randy really kind of has the same type of mindset that we do. At JobNimbus, we have kind of 4 pillars that we try to help contractors with. And that is to be more organized, be more professional, be more efficient, and ultimately be more profitable. So really that's what our entire system is designed to do. And Randy really brings that to the table. One of the things I love about Randy's approach is that he's not only a consultant, which he is with the Roofing Academy, which is his company. He's also a business owner. He's owned Elite Roofing for how long now, Randy?
Well, about 15 years. The parent company, the Elite Roofing brand, has been 11 years now.
Awesome, man. So Randy's a guy who practices what he preaches. This is not an outsider trying to tell you how to run your business who's never been there and been in the trenches day to day. So we really appreciate the approach that Randy brings to the table. One of our, again, JobNimbus things that we really try to promote is making contractors heroes. And that means making them heroes to their employees, to their customers, to their family. And that's a lot about what Randy talks about as well, how to make you a better overall business owner, employee, team member, whatever it is. So we're really excited about what Randy's got today. The $5 million game plan, which is really, how do you take your company to the next level? And I won't get into it too much. I'll let you get into that, Randy, but really excited to hear what you have to say today. And with that, we'll go ahead and turn the time over to you.
All right, Monroe, appreciate it, man. Yeah, we're going to dive pretty heavily in real fast. There's a lot of content we're going to cover. And just real quick, if everybody wants to just, we got Nick on as well. And a couple more people support here. So I'll have you guys kind of man the chat, if you will. We don't have a whole lot of time for a lot of Q&A, but there is going to be an opportunity to book calls and to get your questions answered after the fact. If there's something that we can answer throughout, we have a couple people on going to be manning the chat room. So if you have questions or just say hi, let us know who you are, where you're from, and you go ahead and say hi, and then we're going to kind of dive right in. I'll probably turn my screen off as we're talking as well. Let's get this presented. All right. Can you hear me okay, Monroe, before then we'll turn our screens off here?
Yes, sir. Looks cool. Like everybody on the call can hear you. So I think we're good.
Awesome. Don't want to get started without that, right?
Yeah,
all right.
right.
I'm going to go ahead and stop my video. That way you guys can just focus on what we're talking about here. So we'll stop our videos here. All right, guys, welcome to the $5 million game plan. I kind of put this together to give you a framework of what it's like to build an infrastructure of a business and a foundation of a business that can help you break through that $5 million barrier. That seems to be a big kind of a 4-minute mile that a lot of us really want to strive for. And the reality is very few companies really make it there. So my intention here today is to give you some great insight on how to take your business to the next level. Even if it's not quite that $5 million mark, doesn't matter. The things you can learn, you can apply to your business and continue your growth. All right, so who is this for? Owners that are ready and willing to make the necessary changes in their business. It's going to take change, okay? We got to change our mindset. We got to put the right people and the right processes in place to grow our business. We're also, speaking to owners that are willing to make an investment of time and money. Okay, it takes time. You have to take time to work on your business, not in your business. And that's what we close this out with is, you got to be ready to switch from working all in on your business to working on your business. We got to start really intentionally making that change happen. In the next 45 minutes to an hour, you're going to learn, one, how to become a leader, right? Focus on leadership that inspires your team to reach bigger goals, how to build a strategic game plan for success, how to track and manage your business by the numbers. We're also going to be talking about marketing strategies and some lead generation strategies that can really help you diversify your marketing and lead gen. You also, you got to figure out, we talked about just a second ago, how to put the right people in the right seats. We're going to be talking about processes, like the key systems and processes that we have to implement in each division of our company or each department of our company. We also got to focus on building a sales team. So I'm going to give you some insights on how to build a sales team. And then we're going to talk about what it takes to build a production department to handle all that growth that you're going to be having. Essentially, my goal is to share everything you need to know to build a company that's capable of breaking through that $5 million barrier. So be ready to, we're going to go pretty quick here, but if you need to take screenshots, have kind of your camera ready and that sort of thing. If anything on here you want to refer back to, feel free to take some pictures. A couple of house rules. First and foremost, right, building a $5 million roofing company is not easy, right? It doesn't happen overnight. There's a reason why so few people make it there. It takes time, takes commitment, and a dedication, and a dedicated team of people. Neither my results or our clients' results are typical. The people you are going to hear about and see some examples of are hardworking entrepreneurs and leaders that have put in the effort and did the work. And obviously, results are entirely up to you. You got to put in the effort. Does this sound familiar? Let's dive right in. Sometimes you have a big months, right? We have a big revenue month followed by slow months, you know, the up and down wave that we tend to go through with revenue and profitability in our business. You know, we tend to, you know, focus on what happened, that fire that we have to put out right now, we focus on that. So we'll focus on sales. And then while we're focusing on sales, our production, it falls apart. Or then we shift. We gotta build, gotta produce, and then collections fall apart. And then we focus on collections, but there's no sales. It's really hard to get that consistent, you know, growth and consistent streamlined process for all of them. We tend to spend a lot more time putting out fires and just dealing with the things that are right in front of us than we do focusing on our business and implementing processes. You have no clue when money is coming in, right? Cash flow is the biggest challenge we face. So we're always, you know, in the back of our mind, stressed out, trying to figure out what the heck, you know, how we're going to collect our money and what kind of profit we're going to make, even if we know what our profit is. We find it hard, right, to find good people. I hear this all the time. I can't find the right people, especially in this job market. It's really challenging. Okay, do we keep doing all the busy work that keeps you away from working on our business? Okay, we can't find good people, right? So we got to do it ourselves. If you want it done right, you do it yourselves. A lot of us have this mentality, and I used to have it as well. Do you feel like you're working so hard every day, you're kind of spinning your wheels a little bit? We would just work hard all day, every day, working 80 hours to avoid working 40, but we can't seem to get past these thresholds, can't seem to break through. I don't know about you guys, but when I was in that position, I definitely felt burnt out. You know, there's every so often you just kind of burn out and you lose all motivation. It becomes really challenging. Okay, do you feel like you have no time to spend with your family? You know, I believe that we build businesses in order to get freedom, to spend more time with our family and do the things that we love and want to do in our life. Are we just too busy, just staying busy? Are we just being busy all the time, just to stay busy? Spinning too many plates is a little funny little video here, but you hear this so often, and that's what it feels like. It feels like you're just juggling too many balls, spinning too many plates, you know, putting out too many fires. Let me ask you this. This is a hard one to ask. I ask this quite a bit. What would happen if you stepped away from your business for a month? Okay. Say, unfortunately, we're dealing with circumstances. What if you got sick or you just wanted to take a month-long vacation? What would happen to your business? Would it fall apart? Would it run smoothly? Would people actually implement things without you? That's a question to be thinking about as we continue through this process here. The real challenge, okay, this is a real problem that we have, most of us, okay? We got to get out of our own way. You know, leadership is the bottleneck's always at the top, right? Leadership is where the bottleneck is most of the time in most businesses. You haven't changed from being an employee or having the employee mindset to a leadership, ownership, visionary entrepreneur mindset. One of my favorite quotes from John Maxwell is, everything rises and falls on leadership. So we're going to talk about that a little bit as we get started here. What does it mean to be a leader? Our responsibility as leaders is to lead, teach, and inspire others. We must learn to give up control, to extend that leash a little bit. We must learn to trust others to help build our company. We have to actually, we really practice leadership through empowerment. And we have to empower others, empower our team and our other leaders to make decisions and also to make mistakes, because that's where the biggest growth happens. They're going to learn the most when they make mistakes. We also need to understand what it means to be a fiduciary for our company. We are fiscally and financially responsible, not only for ourselves and for our families, but for our companies and for all the people that are involved in our company. It's our responsibility to focus on, growth, profitability, and running a business by the numbers. Okay. One of my favorite things to teach, and I learned about leadership as well, is a great leader takes ownership of everything in the business. Does not matter what happens. We cannot blame others. We have to look inwardly first. And again, this is solidified by leading by example. My favorite quotes as a leader is, it's our job. We must be supportive, slightly detached, and always equal. That's the best way to treat your day to day and to go into each day as a leader in your business. What happens, okay, as we develop these leadership skills, as we grow as a leader, what starts to happen? Okay, your culture shifts, right? You start to build a culture of people that want to actually help you achieve your goals, that feel a part of something. People in general want to be part of something bigger than themselves. Okay, we start to really tap into everyone's strength, and we start to put people in positions that accentuate their strengths, where they get better and better at their job because they're in their strength zone. You start to develop other leaders within your team. Okay, that's another goal of ours. You can automate, eliminate, and delegate tasks much easier. As leadership develops, all these things start to fall into place. Your business grows a lot faster and smoother as we embrace these leadership strategies. And then also, as a leader, we have to fall on that same line of creating a business and creating a role for ourselves that fits our strengths. Some of us are natural visionaries. Some of us are natural implementers or integrators or natural salespeople. We need to be thinking of developing a role that fits our strength as we grow as a leader as well, and then finding others to fill in the things that we're not so good at. And ultimately, like I mentioned before, I believe that you're on this call because, and you started a business because you want more freedom and less stress, more time with our families. All these things happen as we grow as a leader. Leadership is a learned skill that you'll never completely master. Okay, this is a journey. The journey is the destination when it comes to leadership. We have to be dedicated to learning and growing as leaders each and every day. I had to learn this the hard way, but once I figured it out and dedicated myself to growing as a leader, everything else started falling into place. And today, my focus each and every day is I'm always studying and reading and trying to master my craft as an entrepreneur, as a coach, and as a leader of my businesses. I always am looking for ways to grow as a leader. We have to embrace that as a lifelong journey. Many of you know me. I won't spend a lot of time on here. I do own a company, one of the top rated companies in the country and in our market. We hit the Inc. 5000 list 3 times. I was blessed enough to write a book that went bestseller. We definitely scaled our business pretty heavily in a short period of time. Been in this business now 18 years. Pretty much all I know is construction and building construction companies and roofing. We founded the Roofing Academy, and then now a lot of my time goes to focusing on working with other leaders and entrepreneurs. But that's not really my style. I'm not really here to talk about myself. Let's share a couple real quick stories of some people that have worked with myself and my team over the last few years. My good buddy Mike, one of my first clients, he was basically working out of his garage and scaled his business. They're right there at that, focused on the $5 million goal this year, and the full staff, full office, and a full team of people out there working every day. Another one, my man Sock, we've completely implemented a ton of new systems and processes in their business, and they're looking at they're knocking on the door of almost $10 million either this year or next year. That's what they're hoping for. Jose, these guys are just awesome at New Era. They just execute every system and process, and they've just built an amazing culture, an amazing team, and very confident they're going to hit that $5 million in a very near future. Same thing with Pat here. They've been working a number of years, and even in a downturn, they're still doing north of 10 million or north of $7 million. Their eye is set on the $10 million mark. These are just a couple examples. Past 4 years, I've been coaching companies. My team has been coaching companies. We have successfully seen many companies take their business to the next level. We've worked with startups just getting started, excuse me, all the way up to some companies that are doing north of $20 million in business. So what does it take? Okay, let's dive into the content here. What does it take to get your business to that next level, whatever that next level is? The first thing I've identified, through my history in building businesses and building, high growth roofing companies, is there are 5 key pillars or key processes or, key things that we have to implement into our business that all need to work together in order to take our business past that next level that we're trying to get to. So we're going to dive into all those. The first one, you've probably heard this before, but numbers. We've got to run our business by the numbers. Everything in our business is trackable. Everything is measurable, and we must learn to run the business by the numbers. I knew this. I took accounting classes. I took numbers, and I knew that, but I still, for the first few years, was just not intentional and didn't really understand what this meant. A lot of us know the value, but we don't necessarily have the tools to apply this. So we're going to dive into some of that now. What does it mean to run your business by the numbers? First and foremost, we must implement job costing. Every job, everything that is associated with the job must be tracked. Okay, and the best way to do that is through JobNimbus and QuickBooks. You sync them up, everything down to the penny. If I'm having a credit card transaction, it's being job costed. If we're ordering an Eagle View, it's being job costed. Everything in your jobs need to be job costed so you can truly understand the margin of each and every job that closes out. Time, got to track time, measure and track the time it takes to complete each step in the process. Think of roofing as an assembly line, from lead all the way to closing that job out. There's a whole bunch of series of processes. Each one of those has a certain time that it takes to complete each one of those. We must measure and track each one of those in order to shave time off to make to improve efficiency and profitability in our business. We also must understand our operating costs. We got to know exactly how much it costs to operate our business on a weekly and a monthly basis. Best way to do that is to calculate what is your fixed overhead, which is operating costs in a 4-week, 5-week, in a month period. Divide by the number of weeks, and that'll tell you exactly what your operating cost is per week. Now we need to figure out where our gross profit is and make sure that every week we are grossing more than our business is costing us. And if not, then we got to make adjustments and fix our business and make adjustments to our overhead in order to increase profitability. P&L statements should be read at least once a month. Every project also, as I talked about job costing, I make it a practice. That's one of the things I do every single week is I look at every single job that closes in my business, and I look at the individual job P&L to make sure to see what the profitability is on that job. Next thing we're going to do is budget, right? Must do a budget. Some people think this is a 4-letter word, right? But creating an annual budget is super important. And then we also got to make sure to figure out when and how to invest back into our business. When you're creating a budget, the first couple of things you want to think about is marketing budget and your overhead, as I just discussed. We're going to control our overhead and control our marketing without just frivolously throwing money at things and hoping it sticks. Obviously, we talked about those are some of the fiscal numbers. Now we'll talk about sales numbers. Real quick, the key elements. This is a great screen to take a picture of. Key sales numbers to track. 1, revenue goals, average job size, closing ratio, how many leads are generated, how many inspections are being done, or jumps or demos or whatever you want to call them. How many presentations are being completed, how many signed contracts, what's the total revenue being booked into production, booked into the system, what's your efficiency rate, how often is someone calling you versus the time you're actually getting to the table and doing a presentation. That's called lead efficiency. We want to track that. And most importantly, activity. Okay, it's easy to track numbers that are specific data, but we're going to set goals with our sales team based on activity. And this is number of hours worked, number of calls made, number of doors knocked, number of insurance agents connected with real estate agents, those sort of things. We want to track and measure activity as well. Now on the right-hand side here, this is just an example. We created a little tool you can kind of play with to figure out what it actually takes to get to a certain number. So obviously for the sake of this, I put in $5 million. So if you're averaging $15,000 per job and you're closing half your jobs, which is pretty good, compared to, obviously you got to look at the metrics of what this is, just a straight lead to close ratio. And taking 2 weeks out for either vacation or holidays, we put in 50 weeks in a given year. What we have to do with this criteria is average 667 leads per year, which breaks down to 13 leads per week. And then we have to do 333 jobs a year, which brings us all the way down to averaging 7 jobs a week. So all that being said, in order to get to $5 million with a standardized residential roofing company, we've got to average 7 jobs per week. How do we get there? Let's dive in. Lead gen, got to generate those leads. So that's number 2. The second pillar is lead gen, marketing, branding. It's all falls into one. We must build a brand. Okay, we got to focus on building a great brand that sells itself. And that's the key to generating sustainable and consistent lead flow. There's a lot of different things we can do, and we have to be able to differentiate based on the markets and based on the demand at any given time. So a broad spectrum lead gen marketing strategy is really what we want to try to do. So I'm going to give you a bunch of examples of that. From a branding perspective, every great brand tells a story. We got to think of the story that our company is telling, the story of how the company came about, like what's the super important purpose, what's the deep purpose behind the company, and then we got to build a brand story around that. Okay, and understanding when it comes to branding is, the average consumer is going to see something 7 times before they actually remember it. Okay, so we want to try to, impress and create impressions enough to where people start to really recognize our company as a household name. That was one of my objectives when I first started, is to become a household name brand. Take 7 impressions before someone remembers you. We also got to be consistent across all platforms. Social media, door hangers, trucks, print, everything needs to look similar. If I look at your website, look at your truck, look at your business card, I want to instantly see a cohesive brand image and brand colors and image and all the things that need to be tied together. And think of a slogan or a brand promise. I mean, you look at large, companies out there, major companies, they all have like a simple slogan or a simple brand promise that you can really rally around, and you can really recognize that company by that brand promise. So be thinking of what's a simple slogan or simple brand promise that I can write out and put in my marketing that explains what we do in a few letters or few words. And then obviously, Google reviews and testimonials are important for branding. We got to really implement systems within our process to generate as many reviews and testimonials as we possibly can, because nothing grows a brand like other people telling their friends and family of the experience they had with your company. And then finally, we've got to have a differentiating factor. So write this down. Ask yourself, what makes me different? Okay, we just had a hailstorm in our market, in your market. If you just had a storm, you go out to that area and literally every roofer in town is clamoring over a small amount of work, and they're all saying the same thing. We call the insurance agents. They're all doing the same thing. Here's an email. Don't check on our company. Here's the hail swath. They're doing the same thing. They all have door hangers. They all giving away free inspections. What can you do to differentiate yourself? A couple ideas. Focus on community involvement. Focus on social impact. What can you do to give back to your communities and impact your environment socially? And also, the number one issue people have with companies, construction especially, is communication. If you can dominate communication, you can really build a brand for yourself. Okay, we'll talk about some traditional marketing methods, that we want to make sure. Here's the key. Not any one thing works all the time, and not any one market is the same. So I'm going to put a number of things out here. And if you are doing these and they are not working, try something different. If you are doing something that is working, double down and do it more. Okay, but you want to try different things, and you want to allocate and measure these things to be able to allocate your money to get yourself the best return on investment. So obviously, print media, magazines, yellow pages, stuff like that is pretty traditional marketing. It can still work and still be beneficial. You just got to be very strategic about it. Media can be expensive, but can also work. Radio, TV. Obviously, the traditional, most tried and true method of getting business is canvassing, door knocking. Some markets, it's really, really difficult. Other markets, it's awesome. It's the only way to go. Direct mail is something that we used to think of as kind of a thing from the past, but there's a lot of new direct mail methods and campaigns and handwritten letters and stuff like that that you can do now to really differentiate yourself with direct mail campaigns. So don't discredit those. And again, the number one for me and for any business, I believe, is word of mouth. I mean, that's the best ROI you can get. So focus on ways to generate referrals and get people talking about your business to help sell it for you. Telemarketing, that's something that's challenging, but if you can do it the right way in the right circumstance, it can work. And then also, lead gen services. Again, you can say what you want about them. Some companies do really well, and some companies it doesn't work for them. So again, it goes back to the market, goes back to the type of company. Now here's some more modernized, more, that was some traditional stuff. Here's some modern things that a lot of companies as well as roofing companies are doing. Everybody knows SEO. You've got to be focused on SEO no matter what. Your website should be an additional tool that generates leads consistently all the time. It doesn't happen over time, but you must invest in a good website, and you must invest in doing SEO, search engine optimization. So start by making sure your company is Google guaranteed if you haven't done that. And you can also establish a budget for local service ads. Social media, okay, that's obviously really important. A lot of us found us on social media. I mean, we're on it all the time. So what can you do as a company to kind of brand yourself as a media company? You do this by creating videos, consistent videos, and posting them on the right platforms. Center of influence marketing. This is something that's gaining a lot more steam, but it can be very, very lucrative. And that's, through business development in each market, we got to determine what our target is. And if you're in an insurance and hail damage market, insurance agents are centers of influence that you want to build relationships with. If you're in a retail market, realtors can be very promising and can help you generate a lot of business. If you're trying to go into commercial, property managers are key to developing relationships with. So the key there is building deep rooted relationships with the people that can help drive business to your company and give you leads on a regular basis. But it's just sending an email and giving them a business card is not going to do it. You got to go deep and build real solid relationships there. One of the first things, if you're not doing this, you must join a networking group. Okay, Business Networking International, they're all over the world, and they're in nearly every market. That's the place to start. Also look into local chambers, and you can also Google networking groups near me. Referral programs. Create a program within your own business that incentivizes people to leave a review after they've worked with you in your company to drive a bunch of reviews. You can definitely look up my company and our program to get some ideas there. And then I talked about community involvement, right? Sponsor events, turn your job sites into a spectacle, sports teams, golf tournaments, trade shows. Get involved with that stuff as much as you can to make sure your name is always in front of people. Okay, we'll dive into the third pillar here. And we're talking about sales, right? Nothing happens until somebody sells something. That's one of my favorite quotes from Henry Ford. We can build systems and processes for everything, but at the end of the day, we've got to get in front of homeowners and we got to close deals. Okay, so in order to do that, we have to, especially to get to that level where you're averaging 7 a day or 7 a week. Remember, in order to get to that level, where more than every single day you're doing a roof, more than one a day. We've got to have a system, that's duplicatable and repeatable for our company. Let me give you some examples of what that system looks like. It starts with recruiting, right? We got to be able to recruit people, and we can't just hire anybody with a pulse. That's what I've made that mistake. A lot of us have. Anybody that's willing to come work, we just hire them, but it can easily create a pretty bad culture and cost us a lot of money in the long run if we're hiring the wrong people. So we need to have a process. So leverage your company and the culture and the brand to attract the right people. So the building that brand and focusing on being intentional about the culture you want in your business, the culture you have in your business, and focus on hiring people that fit that culture and be very strict about it. We're looking for A players and superstars only. Okay. Yes, it takes more work, but you're way better off interviewing 20 people to find one great person than you are hiring 20 people to only have one stick and actually be good for your business. All right, next part is the interview. We have you can get pretty elaborate on this, but at a bare minimum, we want a minimum 2 parts. And this, you want to conduct a phone interview and an in-person interview. The phone interview is essentially to try to eliminate people that are not going to fit or are not even worth investing time into. And then once they get past that phone interview and they impress you enough to come into the in-person, then we're going to do a really detailed in-person interview. You want to have interview sheets and all this stuff, you know, interview questions, specific questions, be very intentional about those. And obviously we teach, you know, a lot of this stuff too. So onboarding, right? You need to have a company orientation. You want to have paperwork, make sure all that stuff is done in a very professional, workmanlike manner to set the tone of a professional environment right off the bat. Next thing, you got to have training. When you hire and onboard people, you got to train them. Okay, we have a 3-part training system. First is video, automated, virtual training, whether you use ours or somebody else's. There's a lot of sales training out there on the market, or companies create their own video sales training. But a salesperson should come in, be able to have a great foundation for what their job is and what is expected of them virtually. The next thing is in office. We're going to reinforce all the virtual training in the office. We're going to be able to show and tell the different components, the roofing materials, and all the different things that are going to be looking at, insurance, paperwork, and looking at that sort of stuff. You can reinforce that through office training. And then obviously you got to get people out in the field and do field training on roofs with sales leaders, with yourself, whoever's doing the training. But the key here is somebody's got to be in charge within every organization of training and sales. You've got to have that person in your business to get you to this level. You can't just hire people and expect them to you know, produce at a really high level without someone coaching and teaching and training them to be great. And that brings us to the last piece. Ongoing. Once someone's trained and in the field and working for your company, we've got to make sure we continually coach them and continually hold them accountable. It goes back to what I started with leadership. None of this works without great leadership. So we have to lead our teams and be consistent with meetings, make sure we're setting and achieving goals, and make sure we're always looking for ways to train and find ways to do continual education with ourselves and our team, as well as treating our salespeople as if we were coaching and trying to do grow them as well. And you do that through one-on-one coaching internally in your business. Okay, let's take a minute here and kind of just process what it takes to build the sales team, right? If I'm trying to get to $5 million, here's an example of how do we you know, run the numbers to see what makes sense. In order to get to $5 million, first, what we need to do is figure out the average annual sales that each person in our business, or maybe in the industry, if you don't have people yet, figure out the average sales per person, right? You know, me personally, my goal is to have every salesperson on my team sell $1 million. That's the goal. That's the 4-minute mile. That's my mission. We've actually achieved that a handful of times through these systems. But for the sake of this example, we're going to kind of keep it a little easier with the math, or keep it a little bit more realistic to get started. So take the total sales per year on average, divide that by the total goal, and then you want to add 20%, right? People come, people go, turnover happens. So in this example, we're going to take average sales divided by the people, divided by the year, and that equals 500,000. So for this example, let's take 500,000 in total revenue sold for each person who's representing your company selling business. If our total sales goal is $5 million, obviously the $5 million game plan, and we divide that, pretty simple, by 500, get 10 people. But then we got to add in that 20%, right? You're going to have a turnover. Some people come, some people go, some may overachieve, you know, things happen. So we want to add about 20%. So in this example, we need about 12 salespeople if they're averaging about 500K to get you to that $5 million mark. Now, as I said, I prefer to cut that in half and really focus on building a team that's capable of 1 million per person, per year. All right, here's an example of a process, right? We tried to do sales pretty blindly without any infrastructure, without structure starting on. So when we started our business for the first few years, and we really just kind of spun our wheels, we did okay, but there was no system to scale our business. So this is what we came up with. After looking at a number of different platforms and programs out there, we decided to create our own. And I encourage you to do the same, or use this, or find someone to help coach you through this process. But what we came up with is a 7-step system, 7-step process that we teach every salesperson and to follow. We got to set up. We got to do a setup, which is basically just setting expectations. You know, so there's a handful of things you do before you even get into the home, before you even show up, to kind of set expectations and set the tone of professionalism and of communication. Then we need to warm the customer up. This is where we connect with them. This is where we, you know, really want to build a relationship. The whole, keep in mind, the whole objective when it comes to sales is to get somebody to know you, to like you, and to trust you. If you can do that, it makes the sale much easier. So all of these things are functions of getting people to know, like, and trust you. So got to warm them up, got to find commonalities, got to connect with them. Next, we got to do a thorough professional inspection. I talked about the brand. This is where we talk about the story, the company story, the company brand, and then also the salesperson should be sharing their story as to what's relevant to the company story as well. And then process. This is very important. People want to be comfortable with you and understand that you're a professional and that you know what you're doing. So you want to make sure that you're thoroughly explaining every process that they're going to go through while interacting with your company, from the sales process to the production process, to the insurance process, to the money collection process. You should have a detailed process in place, have that in your sales system, and be able to explain that to homeowners up front in order for them to really understand how professional of a company you are. And then product, right? We want to show them the products. This is where we do the demonstration and show them products and get them all excited about whatever it is they're putting on their roof. Then we got to close. We got to ask for the sale, work through objections, and get it closed. And then this is the most important step. It's the follow-up step. You know, I think something less than 5% of all salespeople follow up more than one time after the sale. And if you can have a dynamic system to follow where you're following up consistently, you can drastically increase your sales rate just by having a really great follow-up system. Few tools to implement this system, starting obviously with JobNimbus. This is the most valuable tool that we have. Everything is done there. Everything is done on the CRM, and we've built it all out to where it's just systematic and everything can be scalable. Obviously, many of you are using digital aerial measurements such as Eagle View, Roof Scope. We got to have images, got to track everything and take pictures before and after. Company Cam is the best way to do that. We use Hail Trace for hail mapping, making sure if you're in an insurance market or a hail market. Obviously, you got to have tablets or laptops. I want to make sure all of our salespeople have laptops or tablets to do these presentations. We want to use a video camera, which is whether it's a phone or a GoPro, you know, taking videos. And then digital presentations, you know, PowerPoint, it's a great way to start. And there's some other softwares out there that are even more, you know, more user-friendly and a little better than PowerPoint you can look into. And then we're closely related and we've implemented Sumo Quote as a great digital estimating software. And keep in mind, all of these things that I'm talking about, not here to sell one or the other, but they're all integrated with JobNimbus. They all sync up and work well together to make this process really streamlined. And then obviously you want to be able to communicate. I talked about the communication. This day and age, text messaging is super important for communication. A lot of homeowners, they don't even check their emails and they ignore phone calls because you're getting blown up all the time. So text is the best way to communicate this day and age with everyone, consumers included. So there's a couple different options for you there. And then obviously we're on Zoom. Video conferencing is important too, because that's just a part of the way sales and the way business is done nowadays. And then we make sure to track all of our sales with the spreadsheet. You can create a spreadsheet to track your goals and track your sales, and you can gather all the information from all these different platforms that I shared here with you. All right, let's dive into the fourth one, which is production, right? I mean, you can sell all the roofs in the world, but really where companies struggle the most after like a big storm or a big sales boom is production. That's where a lot of things can break down and cause a major issue and cause a lot of bad experiences for our customers. And that's absolutely what we don't want. So the key to building a scalable production department is consistent data transfer and excellent communication. Okay, here's a couple examples of how to build a production department. One of the first things we did, we figured this out, and a lot of people don't quite understand this yet, but because we think we want to have the most experienced person running all of our production. But oftentimes someone who's really experienced in roofing is not very good with communication and not very organized. So we want to think of production as, especially at this level, when you're producing more than a job a day, you want to have a dedicated production coordinator that stays in the office. Their job is to be the communication hub. All production communication goes through this one person. That one person then now has field managers or field supervisors or quality control technicians, whatever you want to call it. They stay out in the field. They're the eyes and the ears out in the field, and they communicate with the coordinator in the office. And then we have project managers. This can be salespeople that do project management or dedicated project managers that can if you don't have both, you can have a dedicated project manager. Again, I don't want to get too super in the weeds as far as infrastructure of your business, because there's a couple different ways to skin the cat, but this is the structure that we have seen be very productive in this situation. With the project manager, their job is communication, right? Manage the project and also keep communication with the client. Production coordinator communicates with everyone else but the client. And the number one most important process that can make or break the scalability of your business is called what we call the handoff process. All information, okay, every ounce of information, drip edge color, shingles, all the materials, all the access, anything has to do with insurance, like is it steep, is it tall, anything that has to do with that job must be transferred from sales over to the production coordinator in a systematic way. And again, we built all of this to where it's pretty seamless. It's like a checkbox system where a salesperson, if they don't have all their information, they try to submit a job, it gets denied and has to go back through the process. We must have all information to be able to produce the job. I see countless companies where the production manager is constantly calling salespeople or calling people to try to track down information in order to produce jobs. That is a major inefficiency in our business, and we've got to dial that in. The least you got to do is create a job submission checklist. You check the box of all the items needed in order to roof the job, and make sure that you got to hold your team accountable to doing that. Next thing, we got to create, like we talked about the sales, we got to have an interviewing and hiring process for crews. As we scale up and we're getting to more than one roof a day, you're going to need more crews. So we want to check the references, verify their insurance is valid and active. We also must, make sure that no one ever shows up to our job site without having an agreement in place, a signed subcontractor agreement in place, and you must include all OSHA requirements, safety protocols, and they must sign and agree that they're going to follow OSHA standards and be safe. Then you also want to make sure you have a good material ordering system, and make sure to double check orders. And then once you get really busy, it's also important to have somebody in your organization that can handle will calls instead of just freely letting anybody show up and pick up materials. It gets pretty crazy at that point. So when it comes to a production department itself, we want to try to pick delivery dates ahead of time, right? So we need to give ourselves enough time and enough of a systemized production calendar to where we can actually submit an order and pick our own dates so we can be really organized instead of just sending it like today, expecting it to be delivered tomorrow. We want to try to schedule crews 1 week out, and schedule jobs 2 to 3 weeks out if possible, but schedule the crew 1 week. And then again, use those automations, texts and emails to notify everybody, including homeowners. Got to have a work order, right? With a job site checklist. So the same type of thing. Checklists are actually kind of the core foundation of everything we teach. And at least you can do is take away from today is create checklists for as many things as you possibly can within your business. So we want to have a checklist for each crew. Here's what a job site should look like for every job, and have them check off a checklist as with what your expectations are for every job. And then also hold them accountable through quality control. We want to have another checklist, like a post-job inspection, where we're doing our own inspection, making sure that the job was done properly, that everything's secured and it's done to our quality of standards. And that's also a great tool to use for selling, is like, hey, whether you're in a market that requires inspections or not, if you're doing your own quality control, it just makes you stand out and be very professional. And then lastly, on the production side, job sites should be selling opportunities. Okay, we want to try to turn our job site into something, that's completely different, that really catches the attention of all of the neighbors and the people, and leverage that for as many referrals as possible. We started setting up caution tapes and cones and make sure everybody has uniforms, the trucks look professional, the trailers look professional. And then we want to notify all the neighbors that there's a construction project going on. We've even started, a few times, I got people that are doing barbecues at job sites. They're doing Kona ice, like ice cream trucks and those sort of things at job sites, to try to just gain the attention of the neighbors. And this is just, if you can, grab your phone, take a quick picture here. I don't have time to really go through this in depth, but this is just an example of a production workflow chart that we created. And like I mentioned earlier, I mean, it's think of production as like an assembly line, and there's just a number of different steps in order to take a job from inception all the way to completion, and make sure everybody's paid, all the bills are paid, and the commission's all paid out. So this is just an example of what that looks like. So I encourage everybody to take a picture of this, and you can kind of see what this looks like here.
Hey, Randy, we will be sending out a recording of this as well, so people will get that, in the recording of the webinar too.
Perfect. I'll go back to it for 2 seconds there. So, yep, you can come back. All right. The last one, but probably the most important, is people. Okay. None of this is possible without people. Okay. They are our most valuable assets. People are so important to every business. Not one successful business owner or entrepreneur is going to answer the question of how did you become successful without giving the credit to the people they surrounded themselves with, me included. I've surrounded myself with awesome people, and we've seen great growth because of that. So it will not happen without getting the right people in the right seats. How to do that? So a couple notes for you here to think. So first and foremost, starting with leadership, with yourself and your partners or leadership team, we must create clearly defined roles for everyone, starting and including leadership, right? A good way to do this is just get in front of a whiteboard or create a spreadsheet. And we have some tools and documents that we share to help people with this process. But want to create a spreadsheet and write down each person, and then write down their role and everything they do, and define all the tasks that they're in charge of. And then what we want to do is create an actual organizational chart. I'm going to show you an example of that as well. So be prepared with the camera. Create an organizational chart to illustrate the current situation. I mean, you want to be able to chart out, this is what your company looks like now, but you also want to be able to add new roles and start to envision, use this organizational chart to envision what your company is going to look like when you get to 3, 4, 10 million dollars, because that continues to change as you grow your business. And make sure every employee in your business has an employee agreement with that written job description, with established KPIs, key performance indicators. These are the things, the numbers that every employee in your company is being held accountable to. There's something, even someone answering the phone, that you can establish KPIs for them. Maybe it's number of rings before they answer on average. It's, maybe it's has something to do with filing, or something to do with, keeping things stocked in the office, or something. You can find some way to measure every single role in your business. So you use that, and you do that by establishing key performance indicators for everyone. And then also too, we want to use personality assessments. I mean, there's a number of different ones out there. DISC assessment, Myers-Briggs. We are really a big fan of one called the Personal Style Indicator Assessment, put on by CRG, which is Consulting Resource Group. We really like those as a great way to really understand the people that we're working with. So we use those in a hiring process, and we also do that with companies that have a number of people that really want to kind of shuffle the deck and get people in the right seats. So something to think about. And then again, goal setting is super important. Do not have a meeting without goal setting. Everyone in the company needs to be setting goals and being held accountable and to those goals. And you do that with consistency, consistent team meetings. Here's an example of an organizational chart. Again, this is kind of just what it looks like You can do these. There's a number of different softwares. There's somebody on Google, I think Google Charts. You can build this. You can it's called like a mind map. So you can find software that does mind mapping. And then also there's one called bubbl .org, bubble without an e .org. And that's where I built this. This is a couple of years old, but just wanted to give you it as an example of what it looks like when you start to really see an organization come to life and when you start adding a lot more people to it. Okay, so I discussed, the 5 pillars, so to speak, of the company, but there's also 5 people pillars or 5 key roles. And when we start a business, we are all 5 roles. Most of the time, actually, I'd say 100% of the time, not one person is really good at all 5 of these things. If you are, congratulations, you're a superstar. But the reality is different people have different, God-given strengths and abilities to contribute to a business. So as we're thinking of growing our business to the scale that we're talking about, these are the 5 key pillars that we have to have, or key leaders in the business. You obviously need to have your visionary. This is your director, somebody that's, the creator, creating opportunities, creating that big vision and setting large goals for the business. This is an eternally optimistic person that's always, trying to drive growth and motivate people and connect with people and keep everyone excited. Now you have your executor. I call this the executor. This is a person that's executing the plan, that's taking the vision, that's taking those goals and executing and implementing. EOS refers to this as the integrator, but I prefer executor or the implementer. This is oftentimes can be a business partner, can be an operations manager, somebody that's in charge of taking the vision and putting those systems into place, creating those checklists that I just talked about and implementing those things, running meetings, holding people accountable, coaching their team. Next, you got to have a sales driver. Okay, and a lot of times we try to skip this, but someone needs to be solely dedicated to eat, sleep, and breathe sales. How are we gonna drive sales each and every day in our business? Okay, this is the person that's in charge of training the sales team, developing the sales program, the system, hiring salespeople, and doing sales and chasing those big deals and networking and connecting, all the elements of sales into your business. You must have this person in your business. Next, you got to be able to execute at a high level. And the best way to do this is through a master technician. I call this the master technician. And this is your roofing expert. This is somebody, whether it's a service technician or a field supervisor or a quality control supervisor or something, but this is your safe haven if things go wrong. And they're going to go wrong. You're going to mess up a job. You're going to have production issues. Jobs are going to go south and we're going to have issues. Who's going to be in charge of going out there, solving the problem, keeping the customer happy, and at the end of the day, making sure that you are putting on a high quality product each and every time? Somebody needs to know roofing inside and out within your business, especially, again, we're speaking of scaling a roofing business. Not all these you're going to have right away. Okay, you don't want to do this day one because then you can't afford it. Remember, I talked about overhead. But as you build a vision for your business, to scale your business, these are the key elements you're going to need. And at the end, you got the bean counter. Do not forget about the bean counter. Somebody has got to watch the money. Okay, this is the fiduciary. This is the financial controller, a CFO, or somebody that's in charge of focusing the energy on they're the ones creating these the P&Ls and the balance sheets, and they're the ones in charge of profitability and gross and net profitability, and also managing cash flow within a business, because it takes money to grow businesses. It takes a lot of cash to scale your business, and if you don't know what you have and you don't have your numbers in order, you can just scale a mess, and that's absolutely the last thing that we want to do and we want to share with you. So as we begin our wrap-up process here, Rome obviously wasn't built in a day. This kind of growth does not happen overnight. Okay, there is no such thing as get rich quick in life and in roofing. Okay, but learning from others who know what you want to know and who have achieved what you want to achieve can help you avoid costly mistakes and save you an exponential amount of time. Here's a couple more examples. 0 to 3.5 million in 2 years. That was an awesome execution of systems and processes on their way to 5. It's an awesome company in multiple locations. They have multiple locations doing over $5 million at a piece each in different areas, and we've restructured the whole entire company. So where do we got? Where do we go from here? We have a couple options. You know, those of us who are entrepreneurial and stubborn and just want to keep doing what we're doing, that's fine. You can get there, right? You can find success a number of different ways. The first option here, we can continue going at this alone. Okay, it could take hundreds of thousands of dollars, years and years out of your life trying to figure all this stuff out. It can be done. It can be figured out. Or we can learn a proven system from a team of professional coaches that as Monroe was saying earlier, that not only teach this, but have actually done it and continue to master each and every day. Our coaches are in the weeds with you. They don't just coach and tell people what to do. We own businesses, a number of different businesses and a couple different roofing companies that we focus on each and every day. All right, so if that second option makes the most sense and you would like to get connected with myself and my team and kind of see and hear a little bit more about what we do and how we can help companies execute this plan, here's what you can expect. This is, I guess, the framework of the Start, Build, Grow system. As you know, we talked about the 5 pillars. That's the ultimate framework. We're going to evaluate all 5 pillars and be able to help you implement systems and processes and help coach you through building out all 5 of those pillars as you scale your business. What does that entail? First, virtual training. Okay, we have 12 different courses up to, I think, somewhere around 180 or 190 different videos now. We're constantly adding new content weekly, monthly. And everything we teach, all the systems, all the documents, all the checklists, all the things that we talked about, we have them all done for you, ready to implement into your business. Subcontractor agreements, contracts, employee agreements, templates, custom SOPs, standard operating procedures. So that's an SOP. We've created SOPs for nearly every element in a roofing company, and you now have access to those. And again, coaching, right? None of this is possible without actually having coaches you can lean on to help you through as you're implementing all these things into your business. We do weekly group coaching calls. I host a weekly strategy call. We also just implemented a weekly sales coaching call where sales leaders and salespeople can get on a call with myself and our resident sales coach to go through that. And then you're also going to have access to a team of expert coaches. We've all worked together for over 10 years building roofing companies, and we can provide an incredible experience-based, care and examples to help coach you through that. And we also do one-on-one coaching calls. All right, so at the end here, if this all makes sense, if you're like, okay, well, let's see what we can do to go to this next level and start to, maybe you have questions because we don't have a whole lot of time left as we covered a lot of content today. If you would like to get on a call with me, I've opened up a handful of availability over the next week, 2 weeks to jump on a call with me. So the first step, you can set up a 45-minute strategy session. And if you look at your chat, there should be a link in there, and I'm going to give you the address here in just a moment. And then what we're going to do, we're just going to get to know each other a little bit. If you have questions or a little bit deeper dive on your vision and goals for your business, where you are now, what you want to try to accomplish. And my objective is to kind of help you determine the best program and then also help you create and execute a strategic growth plan for your business to help you get to that next level that you're going for. All right, so there's a lot of people signed up. Like Monroe said, this is going to be recorded and sent out. So those of you who joined us live, congratulations, you got first dibs and you are able to book a call. And the best way to do that right now is you go to $5 million game plan, all one word, .youcanbook.me, and that'll book directly on my calendar, and we'll book that session. We'll get your information, and we'll take it from there. So I'm going to stay here for a couple more minutes as you guys are kind of writing this down and or clicking on that link in the chat room, and we'll get going from there. But I very much, man, Monroe, look at that, dude, right at noon.
On the dot, man. Well done.
I think I went like 10 minutes over last time, so we're good now. I had to move that fast.
Way to go. You were talking quick, but that was a lot of really good information, man. Yeah, we really appreciate it. Randy, thanks so much for bringing a ton of great information, a lot of expertise to the call today. As Randy mentioned, I mean, that's a lot of really good information. And obviously Randy's got a whole lot more that he can share with you. So make sure to book a call with him. If you do have questions about JobNimbus, there's also a link in the chat to actually book a time with one of our team members to just kind of talk through what JobNimbus has to offer as well. As Randy talked about, all those great ideas that he's got. What we try to do is be the hub for the information. So we try to be that central information hub where you can keep all your customer information, sales information, accounts receivable, sales dashboard, anything that you're going to need to track to really get to this point that Randy's talking about, to take your company from that where you are today to that $5 million company and above. That's what we try to do. So feel free to click on that link and book some time with one of our reps as well. But yeah, I think otherwise, Randy, we can hang out for a minute. If there are some questions, looks like there might be a couple that just came through.
Yeah, the one that we've got a few times I might as well just answer publicly is the email you registered for this link. We're going to be sending out a link with the recording. So you'll be able to refer back to that.
Exactly. We'll send that out here pretty quickly after the call today. So you guys should get that in just the next day or two. So we will be sending that out to everybody who was on the call today, as well as those that were registered that couldn't make it today. So
yeah, we had another one talking about kind of budgeting, right? When you're getting started, how do you prioritize early investments like hiring trucks and wraps and marketing, and where does that money go first? First and foremost, we got to get points on the board. So what can we do to be super efficient with our money to get jobs on the board and get jobs flowing? You may not have a huge marketing budget at first, but I think the best way to do that is through networking, door knocking, get an email, or get your website dialed in. But most importantly, if you have a little bit of a budget, hire some great people to help you, right? People are the best investment. So surround yourself with some talented people to help get you to that level, and really focus on getting points on the board. And then you can adjust your budget as you gain more and more profitability. And again, the answer is subjective to what kind of budget you're starting with. If you have a little bit of a budget, some people start businesses with no money whatsoever. Some start businesses or start roofing companies with 50 grand or 100 grand. Depends on what kind of budget you're working with. You can allocate more and more funds to those marketing efforts. I actually encourage less to start with, because that really stimulates you as an entrepreneur. Okay, if we start a business and someone just hands us 100 grand and say go figure it out, we're going to make a lot of mistakes. We're going to blow through a lot of that money. If we're very intentional about, hey, this is I have to make very good financial decisions from day one in order to really double that money as much as possible. You're going to make sharper decisions, and you're going to become a better entrepreneur on a tighter budget. So I kind of look at it that way. And then another one about recruiting sales reps. Here's the thing. There's no magic bullet to recruiting sales reps. Me personally, at first, I had to go out and recruit. I mean, whether it was somebody I knew from social media, old high school friends, college friends, somebody I just met randomly at different social events, waiters, servers, anybody that stood out with a good personality, that's somebody that I felt fit the mold of what a good salesperson would be, I would just open dialogue with them and converse with them. And again, you don't want to just hire anybody, but as a leader, to find the best people, you got to go out and put yourself out there and try to, connect with people and tap into people that you already know to start. I mean, I was just reading something earlier today about this, about how, to find great people, it's a lot easier if you recruit people that you've known for a while. Because if you know somebody, you've known them since high school or some college or something like that, you've known somebody, their characteristics, what kind of work ethic and what kind of person they are. And you can actually do a much better job of putting the right people in position. I mean, my business partner and one of our coaches, we've been friends since I was 11 years old. I personally recruited him because I knew he had the personality to do really well in roofing sales. Next thing I knew, he became my business partner. He's our trainer, and we've been doing this for 10 years. So, You know, you got to kind of look at your internal network first when it comes to recruiting, and then double that effort down and try to once you recruit others, let them use their network to recruit people, and also build that brand. Okay, because we're so relevant, so, you know, in the forefront of social media, and we're always posting about what we're doing as a company, you know, people actually come to us because of the brand that we've built as a roofing company.
That popped in here.
Yeah, a couple more. I know I can't get to all of them. We'll just do one more here.
Oh,
And
good.
again, book that call, guys. Book that call with me. I think I have maybe 12 or 14 openings between now and the end of the week, maybe a couple next week, but I know it's very limited. My schedule is pretty tight. So there's only a handful of people that are able to get booked, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean you can't book later on down the road. But for right now, I opened it up, and there's about, I think, 12 or 15 total. So make sure you get your books. Get that call booked with me, because we can get a little more detailed on some of these questions. Someone put commission only or salary plus draws. Depends on the market. Depends on your business model. I mean, for me, I prefer commission only, but you can't just, you know, bring someone on and not pay them anything for 6 to 8 weeks. So we actually have a commission only structure, but we create draws in order to make it feel as if they're transitioning into a job that's a week-to-week pay. So we're going to pay them during their training period, and then give them draws based on their effort and that sort of thing. So we'll get pretty detailed into some of that stuff. Job costing process, and it's the last one that we're gonna get out of here. So who do you put in charge of the job costing process? Every card holder, purchaser, someone in the office who's tracking jobs. So first and foremost, Monroe, who do we put in front of the job costing process? Technology, right?
Yeah, exactly. You got to have the information to make the decisions, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
so
you got to have data.
This becomes a lot easier as long as you're tracking data, and we do this with JobNimbus. Right? Everything in our business, every communication, every job, every invoice, every pick ticket, every credit card transaction, all of it goes into the job in JobNimbus, every job that we have, and then that syncs up with QuickBooks, and then we do a P&L there. So somebody, whether it's an office manager or an owner, but somebody needs to be in charge. That's caveat, that's good with this sort of thing, should be in charge of checking all these jobs. So it can start off with one person. You know, we have a whole AR AP team that does all the bank recs and as well as all the invoices going in, bills coming in and going out, invoices coming in and going out. So we have someone in the office dedicated to tracking all that stuff. So a really talented office manager or back office manager can help you get there, to get that. But you got to have that person that's part of their main role, is to do all this job costing stuff. And again, let's get on a call, because we have dedicated coaches that are masters at doing this, that worked with me in my company for 10 years. One of them is my mom, who is epically awesome at bookkeeping with roofing. So we can get you a call booked with her to really dive into the weeds on how to do that. So
Randy, to your point too, it's amazing how many people we talk to who just don't really have any idea, because they're kind of taking a guess at it. It's like, well, I think this is kind of where we're at, but until they really take that data, put it somewhere where they can track it and look at it on a, you know, weekly, monthly basis, they really just don't have much of an idea. So it's you're absolutely right. You got to have the data in the right place, and then you got to have the right people to help you determine kind of exactly where you are, where you need to go.
Yep. And get rid of paper. No more paper.
Exactly.
Everything, no more paper. Okay. You shouldn't even have a fax machine. You should have it scanned in, emailed. Everything should be emailed, done digitally. With this day, with all those technologies I shared with you with JobNimbus, you should be running a paperless business. That's step one. We got to get to become a paperless business as quickly as possible.
Cool, man. Yeah. Thanks again, Randy, for being with us today. Hey, thanks to everybody who attended. Like we talked about, we'll get a recording out to you as quickly as possible. Any questions you have, feel free to contact Randy's company directly via the link, and the same thing goes for JobNimbus. So thanks again, guys. Really appreciate it, and look forward to the next time. We'll have another webinar coming up here in the next little bit. So thanks again, Randy. Appreciate it, man.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Thanks, everybody. Look forward to getting on calls with you all.